So what we're going to do now is cut our lining at 46 inches, and that would allow for the seam allowance. By the time we turn it in, it will pull it in an extra 1 inch, because when we sew, it pulls it in. Today's Roman line, the width is 46 inches. The drop is 45 inches. Right, we're going to add on an extra 2 inch for the seam allowance. So we're going to cut it at 48 inches. Right, the drop is 45, add 4 inches, add 1 for the top. Right, so we're going to cut this at 45, 49, 51 inch. Right, so that's that. The lining, we're going to cut the lining at 46 inches, and the drop we can do the same as that because it just goes in. If you wish, you can eliminate the 1 inch at the top and then have a nice flat finish. Or you can still cut it because it's only 1 inch. Who's going to 1 inch fabric waste and then cut it off and get a nice straight? It's best to do it that way because you iron it, and then when you iron it you see exactly where it is, then cut it off, and then you've got a perfect finish. So let's leave the 1 inch up there. So we've got 1 inch up there, add the 54 for the lining, 55 for the lining, add 4 inches for the bottom as well. The bottom now you can eliminate 2 inches. In fact, you can even eliminate the whole 4 inches if you wish. But what I say is leave some of it, because the same applies when you iron it. You see exactly where the mark is, then you cut it off, then you've got a perfect line underneath, nice and flat if you want it. But at the bottom, I actually like the weight of the I like the weight there, because we're putting a bar at the bottom to act as weight anyway, so why not have extra weight to help it as extra weight? So that's your measurements, and that's what we'll do. This is very important actually. When we're stitching our main fabric to the lining, we've got to make sure that all the air is knocked out of this, because this is where it will twist. So if I was you, you either nip where it starts or pin it. Today you should pin it. 2 inches. So now we're going to gently pull it across. It's not going to go. What we'll do is we'll just pin these two together. I'm going to show you why I'm going to do it at this stage. I'm going to over exaggerate, because when you move this and just stitch it, sometimes when we stitch it, we'll stitch this one. I'm over exaggerating now. So you see that there's a kink here. So we stitch this here and it's out of sync, and that one over there is okay. But when you've now made it up, you find that no matter how much you try to get the bubble out of it, you can't get it out. That's because it's moved out of sync. And that's the reason why at this point it's very important that there's no air in it. And when you stitch the two sides up, they're equal. So by the time you finish, it'll be fine. So now, and also, sometimes when you are making this, and it's for the outside of the window, and you're a couple of inches out, centimeters, it doesn't really matter because it's gone past the window. I think this window I've allowed 2-inch gap at either side. If I don't get the 2-inch gap at either side and I get 2.5 inch at either side, or I get less, it's not so critical. But when you are doing recessed window and you're putting the Roman blind inside, that's when it's a problem, and that's probably when you do hand stitch to make sure it's actually perfect. So now I'm going to go and stitch this up, and I'll be back in a second. So now we've stitched it, and now we're going to bag it out. That's what I do. But now you will take your iron and get all the air out of it. So that's done. So we allowed 4-inch turn up at the bottom. So we're going to turn this up 4 inches. I like doing 4 inches. That way you can put any size weight in it you like. Here is the big man tool. Yeah? So that's perfect. I don't need to check that end. That'll be fine. Let's put this away. Now when you're hand sewing, you don't have to have this line in here. You can cut this off if you wish, and it wouldn't be so bulky, but I do like this to be weighty by the time the bar goes in it, so I leave it there. So we're folding this over. And you can now hand stitch that if you wish, or you can top stitch it on the machine if you wish. Hand stitch will be nice. This fabric is such good quality, it's nice not to have any top stitching on it. So now we're going to actually measure it to get the top, the drop, the finished drop. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you. I should show you actually. That is dead on 46, the width. So now we're going to turn this up. Velvet you have to be careful about steaming, because in the past I try not to press the button when I'm steaming, because velvet, when you steam it, these iron patterns, it leaves an imprint in your velvets, and you will see it there for years and years and years on. So it's a bad habit that I press this button and steam it, but you can steam it, but just don't press the button because it just pushed that imprint there, so be careful. So I have to check it at all time. So it hasn't come through. So that's that done. So we've done that. So what we can do now is, I don't like to move it at this point, but we do need to check it. How do we check it? We fold it, and this is not a square. So if it was a square, we'd lift that up and take it all the way down and check it there. It's not a square, so we don't need to do that.